Okay, welcome everyone to week 5 of our INFUSE group. We're so excited to have everyone here. This week we are focusing on education, which happens to be my very favorite topic. So I don't think there's any coincidences about needing to help and switch out and how God has put together this group in the most perfect way. So I am very excited to share that space with you. But before we get into this week, I want to ask anyone, we had a challenge a couple weeks ago that was booking a class and hosting a class from the 1st through the 7th. Did anyone host a class? If so, how many classes did you host? And would you care to share about that? We want to know because we want to do a drawing for those of you who participated in that challenge. Anyone want to share? You don't have to share now, or what's that?
I said I will.
Okay, yes, please.
Sandy Armstrong and myself, we held 2 classes actually, and I also signed up one of my daughters. She joined the Ninja Red Challenge, so I had to get her signed up so she could get her Ninja Red. So Sandy and I did 2 classes, and I don't know if Sandy did more than Maya, but that's all I did. So
that's awesome. I'm going to make sure that everyone is muted. And then if you need to unmute yourself, that's fine. But just so we have that. Okay, so we have awesome, another first ever class, a Zoom class, 4 people. That's awesome. So good. So good. And I saw Brittany did got a giant sign up this week who's also ready to do the business end of things. So that's super, super awesome.
I have to tell you, thank you for the everybody. Thank you for the Nisha Underground, because it was that lit the fire under her. And yeah, no, it's like, it's a huge sign up. She logged back in to do the brand partner last night, and I think she spent like 200 more PV on top of the order. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So hopefully she stays on fire, and she's already got somebody that she wants to enroll. So
that's awesome.
We're working with them.
Brittany is gonna hit that rank up this month.
Goodness, yeah, right. I wish. That'll be awesome. That's very possible.
You could do it. You could do it.
I had to think really hard about the dates. So I did have mine was kind of a follow-up class. So I had a class at a chiropractor on the 22nd of January, I think it was. And then, so this probably doesn't count, and that's fine. But then I followed up with one of the gals on February 1st. She wanted to, she had a whole bunch of oils that she'd been gifted, so she wanted to go through those. And we had a nice time.
That's awesome. Very good. I love it. Let me see the comments. Anyone else have something? Okay. Ladies, how do you want, do we want to, if everybody will post in the comments the classes that you did from the 1st to the 7th, just put the date and the method of the class, if it was in person or Facebook or whatever it was. And then at the end, we will announce a winner. Does that work? Okay, so everybody has some time. That way, if people jump on between now and the end, then we will hop on. And then I'm going to let the other ladies man the questions while we get to the content, just because I have total squirrel and I will completely get distracted. So I'm going to share my screen to the PowerPoint. Hopefully this all goes well. Okay, everybody see that? Let's go. Okay, so we are on week 3 of our 5 pillars. And let me see, why can't I change? Okay, here we go. Our action items in our check-in for this week is to discuss follow-up. We did that a little bit with classes because if you hosted a class, you now have people to follow up with. So if somebody showed up at a class for you in the last couple of weeks, you will have the opportunity to follow up with anyone who left and did not respond at the class, or did respond and now follow up and try to get them on subscribe to save, because we know that the long-term goal, this is what we're going to talk about tonight, is that the long-term goal, the pillar of education, is going to be so crucial to the long-term success of your business. So one thing that is super encouraging in that sometimes we feel like we overwhelm people and we don't want to come off spammy or really salesy with everything that we do. We really want what we do to be heartfelt. But what we know is that
I guess I watch crap. I know that when you come in, I turn off my crap and go, "Hey, how are you?"
hang on. If you guys can mute
I
yourself.
felt like I came in and I couldn't interrupt you completely, but I don't like it.
Jan Reed, please mute yourself.
Control your feet. What you feel
Danielle, you should be able to.
Yeah, it's not letting me for some reason, so I'm gonna have to go and
Well,
manually.
you didn't pause it too.
Okay, I think I got that, but it wouldn't let me do everybody.
Sorry.
Oops. All the buttons. Okay, so real quick, let's do this. Did anybody have a follow-up success? Was there someone that you reached out to? We talked a little bit about that before we started recording, but if you had success in following up, is there something that you want to share about that? Because last week our challenge was to make your list of people, follow up with them, and report those results back. So does anybody have a follow-up success story?
I do. So at the same chiropractic office class that I gave, another lady signed up and she put in a nice order. And so I really took encouragement from this group, and I texted her and I just said, I want to know if your order has arrived, and if it does, when it does, I'd love to go through it with you. And I gave her the options how we could do that. And so we will have a Zoom call. We kind of tagged back and forth, but I think we're going to have a Zoom tomorrow or Wednesday.
Okay.
So I was real happy about that. And then I wanted to tell you, because all this is really very encouraging. So I have a favorite Asian restaurant and they sell bubble tea, and I went in there and I don't know, somewhere I got the idea, must have been planted here. And I know the owner just because we're patrons, and my husband had helped at her restaurant when they like refurbished it. And I said, she follows me on Facebook. I feature her restaurant on Facebook when we go there. On Instagram rather. And I said, hey, do you know about my oils? I would love to talk to you about them. And I would love to offer customers a coupon for a bubble drink here. I'd love to encourage people to come here because I love it. And so she was like all for it. She gave me the stuff for the coupons right there. We exchanged numbers right away. We're going to meet on Wednesday. And I'm very excited.
That's awesome. And that's a really great way. A lot of our opportunity comes from relationship building. And if we can build up somebody else's business in the process and really show them that together we grow, together we rise, it really is such a great way. I was talking with one of my leaders today, and we were talking about this underlying fear of competition. And even when it's somebody in our same industry, we really don't have to be fearful of that, because this business is so relational. And when you're building true relationships and honoring the relationships that you have, when you're doing that with the right heart, it always works out in the end. And there might be bumps in the road here and there, but when you can do that, especially with businesses that do not cross over at all, I mean, who knows, maybe one day you'll be teaching a class there at a time where it's not a peak hour, and you could say, I would love to come buy everybody appetizers and host a little class if you have a back corner of the restaurant that's not busy. And then people can say, wow, you're letting us have a meeting here, or you know, there's all kinds of opportunity with that. So thinking outside the box when it's other businesses that you love and people that you share commonalities with, that's really great. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we are going to move on. If you have another follow-up success, feel free to put it in the comments so other people can read. But education is something that I am so passionate about, because I shared over my Instagram today, this weekend we had our first new calf born on our little ranch here, and we have birthed all kinds of animals and ideas and visions and babies and all sorts of things in our lives, but never our own cow from start to finish. And so this was a really exciting thing for us. And I grew up bottle feeding sheep with my grandma and things like that. And so I have done that and experienced that before, but what I couldn't do was say that I had done everything from start to finish. And so, you know, you prepare yourself as best you can. You have this crazy winter ice / snowstorm that very rarely happens in the great state of Texas. And everything you know goes completely out the window. And so as you're navigating all of that, and as you're walking through all the things, you're realizing, oh, I have a lot of situations that have come up that I can't control. And I don't know how to do this, and I don't know what to do. So you read all the books and you consult all your friends that have all the experience, and you make the best decision that you can on the fly. But when all is said and done, sometimes you have to throw out everything that you know and all of the intellect that you have brought on, and you just have to run with instinct. And you have to do what is best for you and the situation in that moment. And so we had a cow rejecting her calf, and it was difficult. And everybody said, oh, once it's done, it's done. Once you give them a bottle, it's done. Once you do this, it's done. And now here we are 3 days later with a super healthy delivery, unassisted, doing her thing the way that she should in the middle of the cold. And then we have, you know, we got the baby food when she needed it, and now she's back to nursing, even though she had taken a bottle. And so it was a great victory, but it reminded me that we can in our head know all the things, but sometimes instinctively we know what's right and what's not in the midst. And so if we're committed to learning, if we're committed to always being present and continually educating ourselves so that we're prepared for what comes ahead, that's great. But don't let intellect prevent you from sharing what you instinctively know is right, because instinct trumps intellect so often, especially when we're dealing with human beings and the lives of people who have experienced something. You cannot change the value of anecdotal evidence when it comes to life-changing transformations. And so that's what I love about the NYSHA Underground calls. We're going to be doing another one on March 2nd. So save the date for that. It's going to be really exciting, but those calls are so encouraging because we see such a transformation, and there's not enough science to support that. And the reality is I don't really care if there's not science, because I'm the testimony. I'm the one who gets to say, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and I'm responsible for that outcome. And if I'm willing to take that responsibility of that outcome, then it's okay. And I can live with those consequences. So as I'm doing that, we are, as we're talking about education tonight, who do we educate? Most importantly, hands down all the time, is that you educate yourself. We can feel overwhelmed with all the information, but it's really important that you're committed to the source of your education and the quality or the quantity of your education. If you think that you can just read one book or have one reference guide and that's it, the end all be all, you might be disappointed because, like I mentioned, the intellect of that one reference guide, it might be great, but it might lack the intuitiveness of another. And so while I love the pocket reference or the desk reference, I also love the chemistry of essential oils because it compels me to use my discernment on how the body will respond to different situations. And so I committed to myself very long ago that I wanted once a week at minimum to be purposeful to educate myself about something in the natural health world, whether it was something that was related to the human body, related to plant medicine, or related to how oils could help emotion, something along the lines that would serve me in my young living community. I wanted to commit to one educational resource. And sometimes that was just by going on Facebook and following a link of a doctor or a practitioner that I enjoyed reading from. Other times it was sitting with my desk reference and a highlighter and spending an hour reading through a full chapter and taking notes and cross-referencing products. A lot in the beginning, whenever I was using the desk reference, I just started researching the free products every month because I knew I'd already done the research on the products that I wanted. So I became committed to learning about the new products that were coming in that I didn't plan on having. So that was a really good option for me and a way to have a plan, but not be so committed that if I failed, it wasn't a big letdown. Then when I would have that knowledge, I would take that knowledge to my customers, to my members, and we would grow upon that together. And then as that happened and they were able to share the education that I was sharing, that's how we developed business builders and leaders and people who are willing to share other parts of this business. And so why do we educate? Why is education so important? Well, it's very costly to acquire new customers, the marketing, the amount of time and effort. It takes more time and effort to recruit someone new than it does to educate the people that you have. Not that that's not the recruitment's not important, but it's always a great one. It's always great when you can already invest in the people that are in front of you because retention is where our business growth is. I love this quote from the Harvard Business Review that the customer loyalty is the single most important driver. And that is so true, that when we have loyal customers, that is what sustains us. Our percentage of members that are on Subscribe to Save is what grows our business. The new members dictate our active growth percentage, but it does not necessarily reflect in our rank maintenance. What helps our rank maintenance is getting our members on Subscribe to Save and getting them to commit to learning a new lifestyle and us educating them on how to share this business. If everyone would, for some reason, I can't mute all from this screen share. So if everyone would just make sure they're muted as they're joining, that would be super helpful. So this PowerPoint clearly has not been updated for Subscribe to Save. I meant to do that, but I'm working from a different computer than the one that I edited from. So Essential Rewards, now known as Subscribe to Save, super duper important. When we're educating about Essential Rewards or Subscribe to Save, well, I haven't said Essential Rewards in so long, but now that I'm seeing that, it's making me revert back to that verbiage. But Subscribe to Save is something that gives our customers the most value for their dollar. They're getting a significant return on their investment. No other company that we shop from gives us the rewards. And if you do, tell us, because I don't know another company that is as generous as Young Living when it comes to getting 25% back on every dollar that I spend. I don't have another company that I've shopped with in my entire life of someone who, here, let me go back real quick. I'll show that slide real quick. Is that good, Chrissy? I just saw your comment. Okay, so I don't have another company that rewards me 25% back of every dollar. And that's a big deal. And so even if now that we have the option to bring members in on just one product, getting them to become a loyal customer from day one increases your opportunity of having that sustainable growth. And so what I am enjoying doing now, we've always done kind of a 90-day wellness. I talked about this on another call. I believe it was this call last week. If not, it was our detox call. But I talked about how that 90-day wellness perspective of saying, hey, if you could change 3 things about your health, your wellness, your home over the next 90 days, what would those 3 things be? Then we work from those 3 things. A lot of times someone will say, well, I'd like a less toxic products. My respiratory health needs support. And I really would like to sleep much better. Then we prioritize them. We put them in a priority ranking and we ask them, okay, what's your budget? What would be a reasonable amount of money that you'd be comfortable spending every month? How can I help you get to those 3 goals? If I could do that for you in about $100 a month, would that work with in your budget? Then we can sit down and we can tailor their orders, and we're honoring their budget. We're helping them reach the goals that they have, and they've given us permission to do that. We're not stepping on toes. We're not asking for something uncomfortable. We're not spending their money for them, because I know that for us, that's something that I have felt guilty for in the past, because I don't want to spend anybody's money. I've been in that place of having budget restraints that would not have allowed me to exceed a certain budget. And I want to honor that. And I want people to see me honoring that. And so when I do those 3 things, I'm meeting a variety of needs, but I'm also building a rapport with that person where they know that I'm going to be able to honor what their needs are, not just focus on serving my needs of growing a business. And so as I do that, we are able to get them on Subscribe to Save. We have a much longer customer retention as far as keeping people on that. I know in the past, some of the diamonds have shared their ER percentages over the years. And though we're a small diamond team, I feel like our percentages have been very much on the higher average, because education is something that we have focused on so heavily. Because I can sell all the oils in the world. If nobody knows how to use them, or husband's opening up the linen closet and says, what's this box that's been sitting here for years? I don't want that. I don't want anybody looking at what I've introduced them to as a burden somewhere down the road. So within those first couple of weeks, getting them to open those oils, use those oils, challenging them on that. And these are really great resources of how to meet those needs. Ask them how they prefer to learn. Do you want one-on-one? Do you want a text message? Are you good with a Facebook group? Are you more active on Instagram? Would an email be better to communicate with you? Figure out what those needs are. If you're familiar with the color personalities, it's always great to know their personality style, because if they're a green and they love research, you know that adding a link to a great PubMed article, PubMed study will really pique their interest. But if they're a blue, they don't really care about the PubMed article. They want a fun giveaway, hey, stay on ER for 3 months and I will give you a $10 product credit. They're like, sweet, fun, So, and again, driving their needs, what brought them in, connect them to all the resources. We have so many resources in Young Living, you guys. When we first started, the resources were so sparse. We didn't have every leader under the sun buying or writing books and having all of these amazing, I didn't even know, I think I knew about the chemistry of essential oils and the pocket reference. And other than that, I didn't really know about much in the essential oil realm. Now there are so many, I mean, Annie Hauser, Aaron Rodgers, Stacy Malkus, they have amazing, incredible resources that we just love. Is that me, baby? Hang on, somebody else's. Okay, sorry guys. I want to make sure there wasn't anything on my end. We have so many amazing resources that are available to us, and we do not need to be experts and able to be able to share that information. So if you feel hindered by your amount of knowledge, don't. If you don't know the answer to a question, ask, because someone on your team does, or someone on your team knows how to get that answer. All right, someone's not muted, so if you guys would mind checking.
Elizabeth, can you please mute? Thank you. Elizabeth, can you hear us? There we go.
All right. So if you're feeling inadequate, don't, because you always know more than the person that's in front of you. You always know more about Young Living than someone who's never used Young Living. So do not let that hinder you from sharing what you do know. Okay, moving on. How to educate. We've talked about this a lot the last few weeks. We have tried to share about different ways that you can teach classes and share in your Facebook Lives and your Insta stories and your Marco Polos, all the things. I want to encourage you, educate in a way that's most comfortable for you. Because if you educate in a way that is maybe what you see as trending, but you're still not comfortable with it, you're going to feel like you fumble and fail. And in the beginning, work where your strengths are. It's totally great to say, you know, I love the way Carly shares on stories. I want to emulate that, and I want to learn how to do that. So I'm going to watch, I'm going to learn, I'm going to prepare myself to share that way, because I really would like to branch out and learn how to share in a new form. If you go out and just set yourself up for saying, oh my gosh, everyone's growing on Instagram, I have to do stories, I have to do all the things, it's not going to be fun. You're going to be stressed out. There's going to be a level of burden that won't be there if you're operating in your strengths. You are the right person for so many people. So don't let it hinder you because you don't have the audience that you think you need to have. And I think that that's something that we get caught up in a lot, is we limit ourselves because we don't think that we are capable of operating in our own strengths, or that the business, the growth, the magic number of growth only happens when we're doing it this one way. And that's really important to find your confidence and operate in that confidence so that you can really be the best version of you, because that's what people benefit from. They don't benefit from me when I'm trying to act like Carly. They benefit from Carly when Carly's acting like Carly. And so it would be great if I need help in that area to reach out and say, hey, Carly, can you give me a few tips on how you do this? I want to prepare myself to learn, and then learn and do it well, but do it with confidence because it's something that you want to do. So I love both one-on-one education and mass group education. The more you grow and the more you have to manage your time, you will grow into and beyond the one-on-one education as often as you'd like to. And so it is really important to familiarize yourself with what's the most comfortable thing. If Zoom calls are comfortable for you, then start scheduling Zoom calls. If Marco Polo is your preferred method of communication, then go that route. But just really think about where you shine and what your most comfortable environment is, because the more comfortable you are, the same goes for the topics on which you educate on. And if you are sharing topics that you think is pleasing to everyone versus what you're comfortable talking about, your audience is going to know that. And it's so much better if y'all are in the Brand Partner Academy and you watched, you've moved on from the first series and you watched Leslie Burris's video where she talks about, we are not in the business of classes and mass education. That's something that I think we, in the hustle culture, is something that we feel like I have to teach, and the most successful people teach, or the most successful people do this. We're not in that business. Classes and educational opportunities are amazing, but we're not in the business of mass education. We're in the business of transformational product presentations. And so you can find a new way to say that to where it's not as like formal. But we're in the business of transformations. We're in the business of telling a story and that's authentic to us. And if you'll notice, as your experience and your audience or your resources of fellow network marketing individuals or cross lines or even competing businesses, you can tell, and I could ask this question, I won't, but think about it. You know the people in your circles that are sharing certain companies that you see the same. If you have several friends or acquaintances that are sharing the same business, your feed will be full of the same story for weeks on end, over and over and over again. And in my nearly 10 years with Young Living, that very rarely happens. Now, one of us might share a story in our diamond group and then we ask for permission to share it. And so you might get one or two every few months or every year where there was such an incredible story and we want to give power to that and just share with people how they're doing, like what that experience was. And so you might see that pop up in all of your Young Living friends, but very, very rarely. What we usually duplicate just for time's sake and for sanity's sake, we copy and paste like business announcements here and there, but we're not a company that copy and pastes transformational stories, because our stories, we have a lot of them. We don't need just one story every 3 months to circulate social media to do what we do best and to share our amazing products. We all have a story that is compelling enough for people to make a decision to choose Young Living with what we have personally experienced. And it can be as simple as going to Ross or TJ Maxx and taking off the annoying price tag with a drop of lemon oil, and someone goes, oh my gosh, I shop there every couple of weeks and that drives me insane, give me a bottle of lemon oil. And that can be equally as transformative as someone who shares that they lost 100 pounds and in small little asterisks put at the bottom, this was over a 6 to 8 week period, results are not usual but possible, not guaranteed, whatever their disclaimer is. We don't have stories that need a disclaimer and that like we have to give credit to every single time, because we have those stories are there. And so I think if we focus and get back to the basics of what is your story and how do I educate people on that, if your story is that RC helped with seasonal respiratory issues, then RC should be the first oil that you research every single ingredient, and you know about all the ingredients in RC, and you could talk a little bit about why it works or how it works. All of those things will give you an opportunity to share and grow in a way that is unique to you and not just copying and pasting as things go on as you grow your business. So some of the resources, I know y'all have been looking at this slide for a little bit, but we do have a lot of resources. The Essential Oil Desk Reference and Pocket Reference, even though they're not as easily accessible at this present moment, eBay and Amazon and your uplines and cross lines, there's all kinds of resources that you can find copies of those books. So most everybody should know what this looks like, but you can get them on eBay very easily if you don't have one right now. Life Science or Life and Science, they do have one. I know they're making edits right now, so that's the new edits should be available soon, but you can still get those tools there. But if you want the classics, this is one to look for. Also at your used bookstores, I always go into the health and wellness section of used bookstores just to check, because people don't know what they have, and they will donate them every once in a while if they're not using them. So check those things out. As far as virtual office tools, your dashboard, your downline viewer, reports, member resources, is WYL, this is a question that I probably should have checked before, is WYL University still active in our new virtual office? I can't remember. We will check on that one, but rank qualifications, paying attention to all of those resources as we go through and as we're building our businesses and as we're creating teams in a downline. Those reports and those rank qualification searches, as you're making reports, you are able to plan ahead. And as we're doing this Rise to Rank challenge, one of the things that we call in our community, we do the reverse hustle, where if our goal, so depending on what your goals are right now, if your goal is to hit executive by June or silver by June, you can reverse hustle those goals. So if you need 2 legs at 4,000 and you have 1 leg with 800 and 1 leg, 2 legs at 1,000 and 4,000 OGV, you have 1 leg at 800, 1 leg at 1,200, then you know you need 2,000 PGV somewhere else. So you can divide that number and say, how many 100 PV orders do I need? How many 250 PV orders do I need? How many 300 PV orders do I need to get that goal? And you can work your way to setting small attainable steps, because whenever we look at the big goal and we're like, silver, there's no way I can do that in 5 months. Executive, there's no way I can do it in 5 months. But if you say 4,000 divided by 100, how many people in 5 months do we need to grow? Do we need to grow our businesses? And those smaller numbers, they feel a lot easier to attain and achieve. And so it'll be more encouraging than feeling discouraged by looking at this great big number and saying, I can't do it. Other great resources that we have at our fingertips, the Life Steps app. And I heard that they are updating the life science app, and we should see updates on that very soon. I love the Life Steps app. I think every member, every new member, if you can download that Life Steps app with them, it's really very helpful. And they don't have to buy the purchase version, but they can still sign up for email notification and consider that your low budget version or no budget version of your own project broadcast, because Life Steps is going to do the education for you and the reminders. And so if you sign yourself up for those emails, you'll know what your members are getting also, and you'll be able to follow up and say, hey, did you see that email about X, Y, and Z? What do you think of that? Is that something that you'd be interested in trying? And so if you feel like there's resources that you can't afford, or there's resources that you can't, that you feel like maybe are not within your realm to send out a mass email or things like that, that's a great option. If you have any other resources that you like and you want to share with everybody, please put those in the comments. So when we teach others to educate, we have a C1, we like to call in the medical field, it's see one, do one, teach one. So I teach, we teach, you teach. If at that point, if people are needing help beyond that, then you can still partner with them. But the goal is to get them to teach on their own, because we want to model that we're not an expert. And honestly, true confession, many of us, myself included, we led the way to making ourselves look like experts, and we burnt out quickly because we could not help all the people. And so to this day, I'll very often teach a class with my reference books right in front of me, and I'll say, you know what, let's look that up together. Okay, Myrtle does this. Hang on, let me go check the virtual office, see if we need that, because I don't ever want to stop learning, and I don't ever want to be the expert. I want to be a resource, but I don't want to be an expert. And there are so many great groups, the Grow group. There are so many free resources in Jill's group that she provides and allows people to provide on that platform. There's so many great scripts. Sarah Harnish has so many free resources. I mean, Eric Walton with this resource for us to be able to share. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if I can encourage you in any way as we're going forth to rising to these new ranks, do not waste your time unless it's your wheelhouse and you love to create. Do not waste your time recreating what is already there for us. The Brand Partner Academy, if you need basic attainable steps, spend the $20, get the Brand Partner Academy, and let Leslie Burris walk you through how to onboard and welcome a new member into your community. Let her walk you through in her simple, quick videos how to navigate your website. Share those videos, have everybody over to your house, put it on your computer and say, let's learn together. Let's do this together, and say, let's learn our virtual office. Let's ask that question. Go to the Facebook group that Erin Rogers has done to help us understand the compensation plan for free. Anybody can join, and they can go watch her very thorough, encouraging compensation plan videos. I am not well versed in our new compensation plan. I'm learning, but I learn every time I have an obstacle. I learn better. I'm that kinesthetic learner. I need to like break it apart, see it, do it. Like I can listen and I can tell you, but in order to really explain it, I need to experience it. And that's why the see one, do one, teach one, that works really well for me. And I know it works for a lot of people. I'm also one that if I take notes, even on the most simple subjects, my husband looks at me, he's like, you really need to be writing this down. I go, no, I don't need to be. But when I do take notes and when I do write notes all the time, I remember these things way better. So even in the most simple things in a new class, bring a notebook and let people see you taking notes if somebody else is teaching. And when your friends and your downline members are teaching classes, if it's possible, show up. Go, because we know that the more that people go to and attend events, there is momentum in a room. That's why I love this Crossline community and the support of all of these things right now, because there is a momentum that cannot be duplicated with just one or two people. You can have an amazing connection, there can be passion there, but when you walk into a room when you go into labor and delivery, I use the medical field as all kinds of analogies, but when you walk into labor and delivery and the waiting room is packed full with people excited to hear it's a boy, it's a girl, or she's here, that's so exciting. That is contagious. We would walk through the hospital and everybody, if we could detour through L&D, that was our favorite place to go, because it was 99% of the time good news. Occasionally there'd be our traumatic situations, but for the vast majority, so exciting. You're not going to get that same feeling when you go into the ER or to the morgue. Your energy changes, and what we do and how we do it is contagious. And so we want people to feel that. The one-on-one's amazing, but the energy when everybody is gathered together to do the same thing and to grow the same way is really important. So if there's events going on in your community, and if it is all possible, even if you just commit once a month, I'm going to go to something in person. And I know we're all getting back into the groove of gathering or not, really encourage that and really build your leaders up when they're doing something well. I lack big time in recognition. And so that is like a goal of mine to get better at, because I so appreciate people, but it's not my love language. So I tend to not do that as well. But I know some people, it is their love language. And so with more encouragement, they will want to grow. If you're feeling stuck, really reevaluate what you're doing, how you're doing it, what's working and what's not working. Be willing to change. If you are stuck in your ways, this business model is going to be very difficult for you. I love education. I love learning, but if you're a person that is uses never in your vocabulary often, I challenge you to change that, because when we say never, we limit the potential of anything growing and being anything getting better. So really ask for feedback, ask your team what's going well, ask your leaders, your mentors, the people that are around you. They don't have to be above you, they could be cross-line to you, they could be lower ranks, and say, how am I doing? Do you see anything? Like, be willing to receive constructive criticism and run with that and build other people up. If you have a criticism for someone, be really sure that have you ever heard of the compliment and or the critique sandwich, where you compliment, critique, compliment again? Be really encouraging in the way that you provide feedback, because I know that a lot of us fear feedback because it comes really critically, where you walk away feeling like a downer instead of feeling really encouraged and motivated to change. So I think that all of that, people will see your willingness in that, and it will help your business grow so much. Okay, let's see where we at. Action steps. So we are going to this week try a new method of education. Excuse me. If you've never hosted a Facebook class, you might try hosting a Facebook class. If you have, or if you've never posted in your Facebook group a truly educational post where you are digging deep into getting all your greens, if you've never done that and you've never provided research in that, you might want to try a really informative, well-researched post. If you are finding that your Instagram stories are really good and that's your best method of education, you're going to spend time creating new graphics with informative content, and you're going to plan out some stories of how you can educate someone this week. One thing that we've been talking a lot about in several different groups is that Young Living has 600 different SKUs. We don't have to educate on all 600 of them. We overwhelm people often. And remember that fire hose? I felt like the last 6 weeks with all the announcements and all the things and events and everything, we've really been fire hosing everyone. And that's not been my intention at all. It just happened to, like, all these things started happening at once. But as we settle into this new rank incentive, and as we really take time to say we have how many months to hit our goal, I want to map out what type of education that I'm going to bring. So 5 products, maybe 5, if like one new product a month that you're just going to focus on educating. That doesn't mean you can't educate on more than 5 if you have very active groups. But when you are talking to a new individual, you're going to say, here are my 5. Over the next 5 months, I'm going to pick something in maybe the sleep category, the wellness category, the fitness category, whatever your audience is. If you talk to a lot of young moms, then you're probably going to focus on wellness, sleep, stress reduction, NINCSA, cleaning products. That might be where you're at. If you know your audience, pick 5 of your best resources, the ones that you're most confident in talking about, and the ones that you have the most transformational stories for. And if you can focus on that for the next 5 months, I think you'll see huge amounts of growth. You might have to deviate from that as people have needs and they come to you with specific requests. But if you're growing on social media and you have a target audience, I want you to focus on just a handful of products. You don't have to hold hard and fast to 5. It could be 3, it could be 10, but do not strive for all 600 products. You will fail, you will be overwhelmed, and it won't be something that suits your fancy. You really need to focus, be good at 5 to 10 products. Talk about those 5 to 10 products. Can I tell you something? We have had so many retreats, so many events, so many leadership opportunities over the last 10 years. I can name probably 5 high-ranking leaders. Some may or may not be with Young Living any longer. I can name 5 of them that never used anything more from the starter kit and maybe a handful of 4 or 5 other products. And when asked about another product, I don't know. Or they went to go research it because they didn't use it. We don't have to know every single product. I have a goal to have every single Young Living product because I love them so much. I don't have to be an expert in 600 products. So don't put that pressure on yourself. Run a report tonight or tomorrow, whenever you're setting aside your work hours, run a report on the percentage of people on subscribe to save so that you can document here and now what that percentage is. And you can make a plan and you can watch that number increase. If you're saying, I'm doing all the things, but I don't see that growth, then you can reverse that goal and say, what am I doing that's not meeting that goal? If your team is not large enough where you feel like that percentage number is attainable, then actually write down the number of members that you have on Subscribe to Save and say, by June, I want this many people on Subscribe to Save, and this is how I'm going to do it. Use those goals as a foundation to work towards sustainability. Long term, one of my leaders and I were talking about this today. Sarah Johnson, who's one of our Royal Crown Diamonds, she was years before she hit silver rank. I'm pretty sure it was 7. It could have been 5. But I want to say, I remember the number 7 because I think she equated that to the number of completion for some reason, but years to hit the rank of silver. And now she is a very high paid Royal Crown Diamond doing very, very well. This is not, it doesn't have to be overnight. We are putting to bed the long-term goal or the long over publicized goal of like member to RCD in 18 months. Not attainable for everybody, not possible for those unless you came in with a big following or a big presence in other ways. Like it's just not, it's not realistic. It's okay, slow and steady. Silver is silver, doesn't matter how long it takes you. And if you look at from an investment perspective, anything else, every rank up, even from star to senior star, that residual income over time is huge, like huge. Ryan Hayes, if you can find it on YouTube somewhere, or I think I know he had to take some stuff down, but he talks about as an investment banker that anyone making $100 in residual income, I mean, that's like a $20,000 investment over a handful of years. It feels like it's not a lot, and that maybe you're comparing yourself to somebody else who grew a little bit faster or who hit and maintained in a different way. It's really important to have a healthy perspective of what growth looks like. And as long as you're not going backwards, it really doesn't matter how long that it takes you to get there. So be encouraged in that and don't feel discouraged. You know, I've been in for nearly 10 years. I'm not an RCD yet, and I'm totally okay with that. I want to grow sustainably. I want to maintain the ranks, and I would rather hit the rank slow and be able to maintain it than to hit it, because this is really hard emotionally too. And so it's really something that I think we need to be purposeful and talk about more comfortably, that you know, everybody does need you to share. Like there are people all over, and they need me, and they need Britta's, and they need Skyla's and Brittany's and Carly's and everybody else. They need us. They need us in their lives. And so it's important for us to keep that perspective. So, all right, questions about tonight? Is there anybody that has something specific that they have a question for? I know we're like just at time, just at 1 hour. With all the interruptions, I'm sorry that I couldn't mute everybody. I don't know why it wouldn't let me do that. But anybody have any questions about education, how to educate, good resources? I'm gonna grab that chemistry book because I did see that one come up. This is what it looks like if you're looking for that on Amazon or eBay. Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple. Just know, let me tell you, this is very, very textbook-like in some ways, but don't read it like a cover-to-cover book. Don't feel like you, I mean, if you want to, if you're that type of educator or learner, read it cover to cover. But there's also in the back a really great index, and so you can pop up, read this, and just highlight things as you go. Right now, I think the best resources, unfortunately, for all of these types of things, if Erin doesn't have it on her oil supply store, because I know she bought stock of some of the things going out of print, we just have to wait until Life Science brings them back. The Eric Walton book, this 5 Pillars, is on Amazon. His other book is also on Amazon. That's Downline Leadership. Yes, other books were on Life and Sciences, but I would honestly, eBay, and there's also another, is it usebooksoutlet.com, I think. There's a bunch of things available online. If you just do a quick internet search, you'll find some other resources. And if you can't find them, then maybe you have a leader in your area that is willing to lend them for a little bit, so you could at least review some of them. There's also great online resources. If you are green and like to research, then you go type in PubMed peppermint oil, PubMed myrtle oil, PubMed, and even if you're not scientific but you really enjoy that research, you can read the goal at the very beginning, what their goal was in this study. And then you can go scroll all the way almost to the end before they get to the credits of who they owe the credit to their research. There'll be a conclusion. So you can just read the intro and the conclusion, and you don't need all the science in between if it doesn't appeal to you. So don't feel like you need that, but there are so many great resources for that. And like we mentioned, the Life Steps app has several great courses that there is a paid version of that. It's very much worth it if that's in your budget. And you can download the content of that and share. Also, another great opportunity. I know it's one of the older platforms, but I personally love Oil Revolution Designs. For $65 for the whole year, you get access to everything that they have ever created, and you can download graphics, and every single one will have your personal information put on that. They have business card options, all kinds of things, and you can put together your own PowerPoint just with the graphics that are on there. Grow Workspace, Simplified Oiler, there's all kinds of resources. Don't feel like you have to buy all the things though. If I could encourage you in anything, there's so many free options that don't just buy everything because somebody else has it. Buy it because it's going to be beneficial for you and it's going to help you grow your business. And then set a milestone. What I have in my eBay account and in my Amazon account, when I find a new book that I want or that I like, I add it to the cart or I save it for later, put it on a wish list. And so every couple of months when I am ready to purchase another book, or I'm done with one, or I need something on a certain topic, I'll go in and say, hey, what books have I been watching? What books are good for me? Or if Mike's doing something and he's looks in there and sees that hey, I have a book on my wish list, he'll just add it in and I'll get a book. And he's like, yeah, I saw that you wanted it, so I bought it for you. So things like that. So it's really great to have those options. So any questions? I'm going to stop the screen share now. Maybe. Okay. We have a drawing to do. And let's see. Where did my chat box go? Okay.
All righty. So Britta and I have been working behind the scenes, and Britta is doing the random number generator and I am the voice because Britta has no voice. We've been taking turns being sick this week. It's ridiculous. And our dear friend Lisa, who is always on here, I don't know if she's on here tonight or not, but she's got the lack of voice as well. And we haven't even been together. That's the crazy thing. So nonetheless, first of all, congratulations to everybody who is just stepping out in courage and finding your voice. No play on words there, but finding a way to educate your people. I think that is amazing. And I want to throw in one more little tip before we do the announcement here. Remember that it is okay to ask your nearest and dearest friends and family if you can practice with them. Because those who love you a lot, they are always going to be willing to help. But I will tell you, sometimes they don't know what that would look like. And you can just tell them straight up, I'm not looking for you to buy anything. Go ahead and release them from that. Because you know that once you say that, they're going to be like, well, what if I want to? So you can't stop them either. But I think it's okay to ask those people to do that. A story for another night, you guys can remind me, but one of the things that I did early on was I asked people if I could practice sending things in the mail. This is so embarrassing now, but it worked so well. And some of you that have been around for 100 years remember this, but I literally asked them if they'd help me test my packaging materials. And I put little sample bottles. Do you remember this, Britta? I put a bunch of little tiny sample bottles in a cardboard tube. And it was an intro class via mail. And so then I would send it to them and then I'd be like, oh, I have this new thing. It's called, it wasn't even Zoom. I don't remember what we had before Zoom, but whatever it was, I'm like, I've just gotten this new technology. Will you help me test this, like FaceTime or something? I don't know. Anyway, it was amazing because they got the package and then we're on and I'm like, okay, can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? How did the things arrive? Were they intact? Did they leak? And once we got through all of that, I was like, okay, well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And they're like, wait, I opened that peppermint. That stuff is amazing. And I'm like, oh, you want to hear about it? Okay, well, I got a couple more minutes. We could sure talk about it. It was the most indirect. I'm not saying that's a winning way to do it, but I did get some enrollments.
That's
So
awesome.
isn't that silly? So just don't, my trick is don't take yourself so darn seriously that everybody's afraid to approach you. You have to try to, it's not everybody's personality, I guess, to be a dork. I've nailed that. But if that is in your wheelhouse, use it. Okay. All right. I'm going to check the messages one more time. Heather Finnegan doesn't have a voice either. Oh my word, you guys, this is bizarre. Okay, so we've got everybody's name. Britta used her cool little random number generator, and our winner for this evening is Trisha Korselman. What? So Trisha, you are going to receive a $10 product credit. So you can apply that to any of your future orders. And it's just a fun way to give you a little pat on the back for doing all the things that we know we want to do anyway. So yeah, Britta said it best. It pays to host classes, literally. So awesome.
You don't win something, it pays to host a class.
Exactly.
And, I want to add one more thing about where we're at is I was talking about the Grow book because it is one of my favorite books. That I love the analogy of planting a garden and really investing in that garden, watering the garden and working to your harvest. And we know that weather and time and environment, you might have seeds scatter. but you keep planting more because you love to garden and you want that harvest. And so we don't get discouraged, or we might get discouraged, but we don't stay in this season of discouragement or we'll never get to the harvest. And so if we keep planting the seeds and working our soil and really are committed to, this is our soil is planted, we are here, we are, we're, those seeds are, we're seeing all these little things pop up in our communities. And if we hold tight and we stay consistent and we keep watering, there will be a harvest at the end. And sometimes you feel like you work so hard and you get just a bumper crop and it's not that great, but you got something, but you didn't get everything. Don't be discouraged in that. It takes a long time. When you plant a fruit tree, you don't get to see that fruit next season. You don't get to see that fruit this season. It might be a while. There are people that we plant seeds in. I have people that I planted seeds in 9 years ago and they're still just, they're watching. And I don't know, one of those people could be a silver on my team in 5 years. Slow and steady, and really being committed and finding what is important to you and investing in that and creating the community around that. I can't grow your business for you. Skyla can't grow it for you. Britta can't grow it for you, just like we can't make you more healthy because of something that we do just by pure osmosis. Like, you have to take the steps to do that. And when you do, you will reap that harvest. But if you really have to go into it with a goal, and I'm planting 19 tomato plants, I want harvest on at least one. Whatever that looks like for you, focus on that. Don't compare yourself to others. Put your little peachy folder, little cubbies up as you're sitting at your desk and working, and really, really focus on what your gifts are. And just know that every time there's a no before you, you're one step closer to a yes. No response means that your delivery might be lacking. You didn't ask. People want to be told what to do and how to do it. I love that Instagram put the link generator on for everybody now, because we can all, no matter at what pace we're at, we can all share the things that we're passionate about and send a little link. I have tried to be intentional about not just putting my Young Living link, like every once in a while throwing an Amazon link to something, because I just want people to utilize the link. And so when they see that and I share the oil, now I'm not going to share everything under the sun, but every once in a while I'll throw in something somewhere of a product that I'm using or sharing. And it really helps just to get into that mindset of, we're asking people to support our business, and that's perfectly okay. So be confident in that, be confident in what you're doing. And when it's your story, it's very easy to do. So be encouraged this week, guys. Make your check your ER or your subscribe to save percentages, the number of people that are on ER. And if you're really, really motivated, maybe plan the rest of the month's education for your Facebook group, or whatever posts that you're going to do on your own social media. If it's going to be once a week or twice a week, maybe plan that out so that you have an idea. You can be going about your week thinking, oh, this week I'm going to post twice on these 2 products, and this is what I'm going to do. So yeah, come back next week as we talk about serving. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Danielle. Such good info. Have a good week, everybody.